facial rejuvenation. Now we come to the little interesting part, which is HPL. What is HPL? HPL is just PRP with one more step added. It's very important that you test the patients for, since you're dealing with blood, you test it for HIV and all the diseases, HIV, HB, the triple H markers and any other infectious diseases. Okay, so advantages of human platelet lysate over PRP, it's a higher concentration of growth factors. So HPL has a higher concentration of growth factors. You can store HPL for up to 6 months in the refrigerator, in the deep freezer, whereas PRP cannot be stored. PRP has to be used immediately. It's a very safe and autoimmune product, and it's a safe product. There is no autoimmune reaction, there is no side effects. Okay, so coming how to prepare HPL. HPL or PRP needs to be prepared within 3 hours since the blood is collected at 24 to 25. That is the temperature which the blood needs to be stored at, otherwise the platelets start to die. We collect about 50 ml of blood. We use a class B clean room for a laboratory to process it, which usually most of the doctors have it in their office. Now we have 7 freeze and thaw cycles. We centrifuge the blood first. We take off the plasma. We prepare the PRP, how we showed you before that. Then we freeze and thaw the PRP 7 times. This is to release growth factors and activate the growth factors. Now we centrifuge the platelets in this centrifuge at 20,000 RPM. We centrifuge it for 15 minutes at 20,000 RPM. This breaks all the cell membranes, because even the platelet has a cell membrane. Inside the cell membrane is a cytoplasm. What we are trying to achieve in HPL is taking out the cytoplasm, because the cytoplasm actually contains the growth factors. We take out the cytoplasm. This cytoplasm is called HPL. Then again we can do some testing if required. If you do it before, it's not required. Then you can reconstitute with some of the serum. You can use it, or you can store it in the refrigerator for up to 3 to 6 months. So some of the contraindications of PRP are platelet dysfunction syndrome, critical thrombocytopenia, hemodynamic instability, autoimmune disease. We don't use autoimmune disease. We don't use PRP when a patient has autoimmune disease, only in orthopedic indications, because the PRP itself will also contain autoantibodies, which would destroy the cartilage more. But we can use it in cosmetic indications. There is absolutely no cosmetic contraindication if a patient has autoimmune disease for PRP. Malignancy, again, we don't do it. Sepsis, acute and chronic infections, chronic liver pathology, anticoagulant therapy, pregnancy, anticoagulation therapy, and underlying sepsis. So these are some references. You can see PubMed has a rich lexicon of references on PRP. And I hope I tried to make PRP a little bit interesting. Are there any questions?
Great presentation. I'm sure there has to be questions. Yes.
How long for the interval from the treatments?
Pardon?
The interval.
Interval between the services, like for the pictures we saw, like how long between you re-injecting?
Yeah.
How many times
Okay.
did you re-inject maybe?
Okay. It depends case to case. If you are doing PRP for a cosmetic indication, you can do it once in 3 months. If you are doing PRP for an orthopedic indication, it could be once in 6 months to once in 8 months. And once you inject HPL or PRP, the body stimulates its own collagen to start multiplying. It creates its own collagen synthesis. Now, once collagen synthesis starts, collagen synthesis goes on. and gradually the process starts to stop because nothing is permanent. Even the word permanent ends with T. T is for temporary. So when you do PRP or when you do any kind of HPL procedure, you have to see the patient. It is a very individualistic approach. There are no watertight compartments, as in after 3 months I do need a procedure. No, it could be after 2 months, it could be after 3 months, but usually 3.5 months is what we see in cosmetic when they need another treatment.
So technically, with the pictures we saw, the one, let's say on the neck one, the before and after that you showed in,
Yeah, the before.
how many services this person received, and was there any of the treads? Or was it clearly the
Yes,
PRP and H?
This,
Yeah.
we had created a scaffolding with thread.
Okay,
When you create a scaffolding only with thread, you find only parts lifted. Because the thread would only lift your skin. If you see, the skin also looks more rejuvenated in the second picture. There is also more collagen that you can see. And if you would touch it, you would also see the elasticity had improved. You need to create the scaffolding. Once the scaffolding is in place, you can fill the scaffolding with the PRP or the HPL. So that is where the collagen actually binds and the collagen can stay in those places. It's like building a building. When you build a building or you build a concrete structure, you have to have a metal wire scaffolding. After that, you pour the concrete in, and that sets. So that's the same technique that we use. It's pretty much the same principles.
so just technically, if we go back, this particular protocol of yours for this specific client was
This is
first
6 months.
Okay,
6
so
months.
first we did the treads,
We
and
did
you
the
waited
treads.
how long between the procedure of PRP, or did you do it within the same procedure?
No, we do not do it within the same procedure. We wait 2 weeks to 3 weeks till the inflammation subsides.
Okay. And then one treatment in this case?
Yes, this is one treatment 6 months apart.
That's great results. Any other questions? Yes, use the microphone if you don't mind. There's one in the middle, thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you also consider using PRP for vascular ulcers or chronic ulcers?
Yes, chronic vascular ulcers, we wouldn't use PRP directly because the underlying cause is the vascular stasis. We need to first treat the vascular stasis. So definitely you need auxiliary methods of treatment, as is that the leg pump, the vein pump, or some kind of compression from down to pump the blood up, because the calf muscles don't work very well in vascular ulcers, because the calves are called the second heart of the body. So what we do in vascular ulcers, we don't use PRP, but we use a mix. We use a mix of placental extracts, we use a mix of growth hormone, and we use 2 other herbal supplements that are calendula and lidampal. We use growth hormone, calendula, lidampal, and placental extracts. Along with that, we put the vascular pump. You have a pump that pumps the calf muscle, and that shows kind of improvement. But if the surface area is too large, then you may need some kind of a grafting, a skin grafting. Post skin grafting, PRP is good, because PRP is putting growth factors. So you want the grafted skin to grow. So you put growth factors. If the grafted skin will multiply, the grafted skin will grow.
Thank you. Yes, another question.
Thank you also for your presentation. And just to comfort you in the thought of the question which bugged you, it was interesting, so thank you for that. My question is, speaking strictly of a cosmetic indication for facial rejuvenation, which has a better result, PRP or a human plasma lysate? Basically looking at the issue of, will the additional cost of processing to derive the plasma lysate justify an additional benefit?
Yes. The additional processing helps in 2 ways. One, it takes off the cytoplasm from the platelets, and it leaves a broken platelet cell membrane. This broken platelet cell membrane also acts as a micro irritant in the dermis. So this micro irritant causes mild inflammation, and along with that, the growth, the cytoplasm acts as the growth factors, which helps the healing process, which is there which is important for a cosmetic point of view. Because in cosmetology, for example, if you're talking about skin rejuvenation or wrinkle reduction, what happens? It's like a shirt. If you have a shirt and if you take off the body from inside, the shirt starts to crumple. So same way, the dermis needs collagen to pump it up. The dermis needs collagen to be synthesized, and you can only stimulate collagen by causing some kind of inflammation. You cause inflammation even with radio frequency. You cause inflammation even with the thread. You cause some kind of inflammation even with the filler you use. That's how they say a longer lasting filler. Some fillers they say are more longer lasting than other fillers, because they say they produce some kind of inflammation which causes the body to produce its own natural collagen. So same way, while doing PRP, you have two kinds of inflammation being produced. One, if you do normal PRP, it is just the inflammation of your needle. But if you do HPL, you have a prolonged inflammation, because you have the inflammation of the needle, intradermal. Secondly, you also have the broken platelets, which irritate the dermis and cause microscopic inflammation.
Very interesting. I would like to, unfortunately, we have to conclude on this session, but I'm sure you'll probably be available for more questions in the back. I want to say, again, this will conclude this session of the American Academy of Anti-Aging. We hope to see you all next year. In my name and the organizers, we want to say thank you for coming and safe travel. Thank you very much for attending this morning's session. Thank you. And thanks to all our speakers. Great presentation.